So, today we go to the track and we do some durability testing on the motor, and hopefully get to do some drifting. Obviously I'm going to be taking notes for the chassis and what we need to change, but it's mostly so that we can get the link set up for track duty. We've been having some complications with the cam because it has a lot of adjustment in the VVTi on both cams. So the actual adjustment of the cam in power, in drift, in whatever kind of moves around a little bit. So we've been changing the PIDs and the program inside the ECU to help control that and try to find a fine-tuned spot that works. So a lot of that today. And it's just basically the fact that it keeps kind of overshooting the target. So it's got too much and too fast of adjustment. So we're gonna try to slow that down, but not so much that it affects performance. So we'll see. And then hopefully we get to do some laps, because last time we went out and did this, didn't go so well. Oh, hey. Got our dash hooked up. Oh, nice. Got boost, RPM, big sweeper tach, oil pressure, water temp, lambda, which is wideband, and then intake air temp sensor, all on the dash, simple. And then we have a bunch of other stuff too. We can go through the menus and all that, but either way. So new motor, couple things changed. We softened the tune a bunch because we basically want to be able to go to the track, drive, get some laps done, figure it out, and then we're going to turn it up so it's only about 280 or 300 horsepower right now and like maybe 330 foot-pounds of torque, so plenty to do what we need to do. Let's go give it a shot, see how it goes.
Yeah, pup, you like it? You like it?
Of course.
I'm pushing down.
You might as well just completely step into the engine bay at this point, Chelsea.
Oh,
there you go.
I see them. Can I pull?
We're bringing these wires through the firewall to go to low pressure fuel pressure sensor. Testing went really well. Obviously, we had to fix a couple problems. Our low pressure sensor was not reading correctly, so we rescaled that and rewired it, and now it's correct, which was nice because now we can see if the low pressure fuel, which basically, if you don't understand the direct injection deal, there's a low pressure pump, just like every car that's fuel injected or even carbureted, just different pressures. And then the direct injection pump takes that fuel and turns it into really high pressures, 3,000 to 4,000 PSI. So basically, our low pressure pump, we didn't know if for some reason it was dipping, oscillating, which it wasn't. So it's actually a tuning and PID issue that we're working on. We did make huge headway and allow the car basically to now be ran. We did a bunch of laps. It didn't blow up, which is exciting. But yeah, so we're just teething and going through this. We're gonna turn the power back up again and start messing with some things, but we wanted a good baseline. I also wanted to be able to feel the chassis out. I like the way the chassis feels. I think we don't have enough spring rate in the front, and we don't have a front bar currently in the front, which I'm super against, but time and issues and whatnot, and wanted to make sure everything worked before we started picking up some even more heavy fab and heavy customization. So we're gonna try to make a stock aftermarket front bar for Fox body fit on the front of the car. That way parts are easy to get, and we'll end up either going to the lower arm or strut location. For this type of car, since it's so light, I don't think I'm gonna need a ton of jacking with the solid axle. So I'm probably just gonna go to the control arm. So the way the bar works is super linear. But yeah, overall, like, with 270, 280 horsepower. I don't know exactly what it's making at 15 pounds. It did fine, it just was lacking smoke, but you can see the speed in the car. Like, there's a lot of grip in this chassis. We're about at 35 pounds or so on a 275 Nitto, but it's an older Nitto and they're very outdated, just things that I had laying around. And the car hooks, it's super fast. Like, it could tandem with anybody at park with the current setup. So I know with the power going up and whatnot, we can start seeing where we can take this car, maybe compete in it and have some fun. But yeah, overall, I'm really stoked on the car. I think it needs a couple little suspension changes. We're still on the off-the-shelf first BC design that I worked with BC on. So we're gonna change the spring rates in the front, get that dialed. Also, like, later on, I'm probably gonna change the rear shock to a little bit longer one with a drop link on the actual axle itself. Mainly just for my car. The way the rear works now is really, really good. I would just like to have a little bit more travel when the car is lower. So we're gonna work on that too. But obviously it's all cut out in there and easy. So for a street car version, we're pretty much there in the fitment and the valving aspect of it. But just overall, we're gonna have to probably turn it up a little bit for this particular car, which is obviously a lot different than just the off-the-shelf Mustangs. And then the next goal after the power is put down and turn the power back up is to maybe just drive some local park events and see how it does with tandeming with other people, and then make some final chassis changes to get it to the point where I'm okay with basically traveling with it and going and shredding other events. No driveline failures yet. The drive shaft is good, trans is good, drivetrain's all solid. Like, I'm pretty happy with all that. So yeah, I'm excited to move forward and try the next renditions of this car. And test day is a success. Obviously, our first one with it blowing up wasn't, but this one's solid, and I think we got a lot of data, and I'm excited to move forward with it. Strong. So just got done with the power dyno session to make sure it's all good after some testing at the track. We found some things with voltage and whatnot. Now we're 365 on the torque. You see a little bit of a peak and then comes back up. This is to flash the tires off a little bit and then allow it to kind of gain some back, but without losing that horsepower curve, right? So if you look, this is basically hitting it at 2,500. It's full nuts and 500 RPM. And that's us holding it back. This motor and turbo could be instantly all the way, but we want to hold it back a little bit so it doesn't just make a ton of torque for no reason. This was the final pull, 327 and 365, and making 300 horsepower at a little over 7,000 RPM. The torque number might be a little bit inflated because the dyno graph is off by about 300 RPM just because we didn't sync it perfectly, but boost is flat, 20 pounds, 17 here and 20 throughout the top range. Looks really good, and I'm excited to go drive this. It makes basically the same power as a TI, but 100 foot-pounds of torque more. Finally getting around to doing the Lexan rear window. We got riv nuts all the way around, and the inside's peeled off already. Oh, hey! We're just finalizing these last few. We'll get that trimmed fit. We'll run it for a little bit, and then I have 1.5 inch black trim that'll go all the way around, kind of cover up this mess and make it look really nice eventually.
Oh, so you're supposed to just go around them?
Yeah, just go around them. Let's pull them out. The reveal. The reveal. Oh, yeah.
I missed this whole...
Glossy. I gotta tighten these down too. Money in the bank. I'm not cleaning the inside.
Just gonna leave all my fingerprints in there.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do that. That's so bad.
That's what I said. Like, it's really bad.
That's from me having to push it out when you did this whole corner.
I know.
Oh, what'd you do?
Oh, I know.
What'd
What
you
I blew
do?
it. I'm like, going. I'm like, oh, what was that? And I'm like, oh, that was the C-pillar of my car. Sick turtle, you going?